Welcome back. Okay, let's just completely tear up that old, outdated image of an auditor sitting in some dusty back room surrounded by stacks of paper. Instead, we're stepping into the highly structured, high-tech world of advanced ISO 14001-2026 lead auditing. Picture this. You're sitting in a central command center, running a complex, multi-site hybrid audit. You've got digital dashboards displaying live video feeds from a construction site, a highly regulated chemical plant, and a corporate office building, all at the exact same time. This is the modern reality of remote evidence evaluation and environmental management.
Which brings us to the ultimate question, right? How do you actually prove a company is protecting the environment? Look, as an auditor, we aren't just hunting for typos in a policy manual. We are hunting for objective truth. Are the environmental controls working across all these remote sites, or are they just a carefully crafted facade? The stakes here are incredibly high. We're talking everything from massive regulatory fines to actual devastating ecological harm.
So, to find that truth, we're going to follow a pretty clear investigative roadmap. We'll start with gathering reliable, objective evidence, move into smart audit sampling, classifying our nonconformances, writing defensible findings, driving effective corrective actions, and then finally verifying sustainable system improvements.
Let's dive right into Section 1, Gathering Reliable Objective Evidence.
The absolute bedrock of any credible audit is objective evidence. It simply has to be verifiable. It's the strict difference between an employee just telling you, "Oh yeah, sure, we monitor our emissions," and you independently verifying the calibrated digital outputs from an emissions monitor right there from your command center screen. It's factual data, it's completely free from assumptions or subjective bias, and it proves that the Environmental Management System, or EMS, is actually working in the real world.
So how do master auditors build an airtight case? Well, it's all about triangulation. If you're running a remote, multi-site audit, you might first review the paperwork, say checking a risk register for that chemical plant. Second, you observe the physical reality via a live camera feed of waste segregation happening right on the factory floor. And finally, you interview the staff via a video call to test their actual human knowledge of emergency protocols. Because when the documents, the physical observations, and the interviews all align perfectly, your evidence becomes absolutely undeniable.
Moving on to Section 2, Smart Environmental Audit Sampling.
When you're looking across a globally distributed organization, how do you gather clues efficiently? You obviously can't check everything, so we use sampling strategies. Things like judgmental, random, stratified, or systematic sampling. But under ISO 14001-2016, risk-based sampling is by far your most powerful tool. Think about it. You don't want to waste your time over-auditing paper recycling at a corporate office if a distant chemical plant's wastewater discharge process is flashing red as high risk on your dashboard. You use this to hunt for systemic weaknesses efficiently, based entirely on actual risk.
All right, Section 3, Classifying Audit Nonconformances.
Now we have to classify the deviations we find. A major nonconformance is a complete systemic breakdown. The metaphorical dam is breaking, and it's posing a massive risk of environmental harm or a major legal failure. Conversely, a minor nonconformance is just an isolated lapse. The overall system is perfectly intact and functional, but there's a tiny leak that needs patching up. Accurately making this distinction is absolutely crucial because it dictates where management attention and corrective action priorities need to go across the entire network.
Let's look at the extremes so you can really see exactly where that line is drawn. A missing emergency response plan for hazardous chemicals, or a total failure to evaluate wastewater discharge risks, those are fundamental, major breakdowns. But what about one unsigned training record for an employee who completely aces their remote interview with you, or an outdated policy hanging on a breakroom wall when the staff actually knows the current rules perfectly well? The system itself is working fine, right? It's just a minor administrative hiccup.
Section 4, Writing Defensible Audit Findings.
An audit finding cannot just be based on your opinion. It has to withstand intense scrutiny from the auditee. To write a finding that is truly defensible, you have to follow 3 precise steps. First, reference the exact ISO 14.001-2026 clause requirement. Second, describe the factual condition you observed. And third, detail the specific objective evidence that proves the deviation. Psychologically speaking, presenting a finding with this exact unemotional structure prevents defensive arguments from the auditee. It instantly focuses everybody on fixing the actual problem rather than debating the audit itself.
Because finding the problem, that's really only half the battle. As the saying goes, a nonconformance without a root cause analysis is just a symptom waiting to return. True sustainable organizational rehabilitation is what we're actually after here.
Which takes us to Section 5,
driving effective corrective actions.
Corrective action requests, or CARs, are literally the ultimate prize of an audit. But bandaging a superficial symptom is totally useless if we ignore the underlying disease. We have to use root cause analysis to systematically uncover exactly why the control failed in the first place. That is the only way we eliminate the true origin of the problem and prevent it from popping back up somewhere else in the organization.
Let's actually step down into the root of a failure. Step 1. You identify the immediate error, like say a chemical spill. Step 2. You investigate the contributing factors. Okay, maybe the operator wasn't properly trained. Step 3. Uncover the systemic flaw. Well, why weren't they trained? Maybe the remote onboarding process bypassed the environmental team entirely. And finally, step 4, implement a targeted correction that fixes that global onboarding process. We aren't just cleaning up a spill, we're curing the disease at the root.
And finally, Section 6, verifying sustainable system improvements.
As a lead auditor, you don't just take the company's word for it that a problem is fixed. True closure requires undeniable proof. Looking at our digital dashboard, we want to see revised procedures actually rolled out across all sites, updated risk registers, new competency records, and, crucially, sustained monitoring data over a period of time. We need hard proof that the organization is tangibly better protected today than it was yesterday.
So that leaves us with a pretty vital question to reflect on. In your own organization, are your corrective actions curing the disease, or are they just treating the symptoms? Because a truly effective ISO 1401-2026 management system doesn't just point out faults, it uses objective evidence, smart sampling, and rigorous root cause analysis to continuously evolve and proactively protect our environment. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope it gives you a fresh perspective on the real power of a perfectly executed audit.